Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. I hope that this session will be useful for you. And while you guys are adjusting to my unique accent and pronunciation, let me share with you some interesting facts, some interesting cybersecurity facts for 2024 that somehow touched or affected the medical device industry and medtech industries. So, as reported by deepwatch.com, despite all the user awareness, malware was one of the biggest threats in 2024, has been one of the biggest threats in 2024. And as cybercriminals look for new ways to access sensitive information for their financial gains, information stealing malware will continue enhancing their capabilities. And as reported by Clarity, nearly 1 in 4, 23% of medical devices used in healthcare settings and connected to healthcare organization networks are vulnerable to attacks by hackers. And this number may grow every year because of the outdated components in these devices. And Clarity researchers also found that a high proportion of medical devices with high consequence of failure, including defibrillators, robotic surgery systems, are remotely accessible. And this also includes 66% of imaging devices, 54% of surgical devices, and 40% of patient devices. So it tells us that we really need to think about the post-market support for these devices, for our devices as well. Okay, so today I'd like to present some steps to ensure that the medical device is ready for penetration testing. And when we start a new project, the most common question our team gets is, guys, how can we prepare for the testing so it goes smoothly? So today I will try to answer that. My name is Denis Dmitrienko. I'm from MedSec Testing. And if you have any questions, please feel free to stay longer after the presentation and I will answer all your questions online, or please feel free to send me an email, denis@medsectesting.com, or call me on my mobile, should be on the slides, or 61434732731. So yeah, this topic might be super useful for medical device manufacturers. And as I mentioned, my name is Denis. I'm leading a team of outstanding cybersecurity professionals at MedSec Testing. Our team delivers cybersecurity strategy and cybersecurity assessment for medical devices. And we help also our clients prepare their products for pre-market submission and organize post-market cybersecurity support for their devices. So we integrate into the project team and guide developers secure coding and best practices. All right. Are you ready for testing? Or it's better to say, is your device or system ready for the testing? And if you are hesitant to answer this question, then let's begin with some steps. First, you should start in advance. You should plan the cybersecurity testing in advance, and ideally you have a cybersecurity expert who is carrying the CISA hat. CISA stands for Chief Information Security Officer, and who will help you prepare the cybersecurity strategy, introduce cybersecurity controls into the development process, also set organizational goals in terms of the cybersecurity, and will help you to plan the cybersecurity activities at early design stage. The same person can help prepare cybersecurity risk assessment, threat modeling, and cybersecurity management plan. This purpose will be important not only for the security assessment, but also for your pre-market submission. If you don't have such an expert in your team, we can always lend our CISA to handle this task for you. So let me know if you need one. Yep. And another thing to remember, it's almost impossible to fully prepare, and most likely the testing team will find vulnerabilities and some exploits possibly. And it's way better these issues to be found during the testing rather than the actual attack. So planning in advance will guarantee you have enough time to handle all these surprises. All right, step number 2 is to understand the scope and to get the most value out of the testing process, it's critical to set the scope for cybersecurity testing. The end product may contain multiple devices, networks, clouds, applications, storages, various users, accounts, and more. And from our experience, we quite often find the blind spots during the discovery phase. And for example, some critical components hasn't been added to the scope, which affect the final objectives, or some critical subsystems haven't been added to the scope as well. So ask your testing team to help you with the scope planning. The experience will be valuable to identify all the components that require testing, so you don't under-test or you don't over-test things. Step number 3, prepare the test environment. And if you have a front-end or let's say back-end application, data storage, or some API that extends your device functionality and which is hosted on a server, ensure that you make a copy of this environment specifically for the cybersecurity testing purposes. The test environment should be as close to the production as possible with all the protection controls enabled. And during the testing, your test team might require to shut down the firewall or whitelist the IP. That means that they cannot penetrate through your secure configuration, which is a good thing, right? So ensure that you make a backup of your test environment. So if it's broken, you can easily restore the server without losing valuable time. And don't forget to prepare the testing credential for various roles. So the test team could also verify least privilege requirement and privilege escalation threats. Step number 4, configure the logging and log management. Logging should be enabled for all the applications with at least error level, because all the activities related to configuration, assessment, and penetration testing may trigger exceptions, errors, and alerts along the way. These log records may provide super useful and valuable insights for your development and DevOps teams, and they might discover hidden issues while doing the debugging or analyzing the exceptions or some anomalies. And log management and monitoring tools like Splunk and Datadog will assist you with the structuring the data, setting up alerts, and make it easy to analyze these huge sets of docs, let's say huge log files. Step number 5, complete your functional testing and UAT. And yes, functional testing and UAT must be done prior the cybersecurity testing. This is to ensure that no functional issues are affecting the cybersecurity assessment delivery. Functional issues that block cybersecurity assessment, let's say the multi-factor authentication server doesn't respond, or the passwords change functionality doesn't work, these things may delay the delivery and affect your budget. Hence, ensure that all the functional testing is passed and all the issues are resolved. Also, the user acceptance testing should be completed and signed off prior the cybersecurity testing. This will protect you from urgent changes and allow you to announce the code freeze, so no recent changes, no new changes, let's say, no new functionality will affect the cybersecurity testing. Then run a vulnerability scan. Ask your development team to run these automated tools. And by running these automated tools for static, let's say, code analysis and vulnerability scanning, you will pick all those low-hanging fruits. So your test team invests their precious time on more complex issues rather than analyzing and reporting things that your development team could have been already fixed, let's say. And here is a few easy to use tools that we might recommend. So it's a Sneak, OpenText Fortify, PVS Studio, and Burp Suite. Okay, so step number 7, ensure that all the documentation is ready. It's a good idea to prepare the following list of the documents for your cybersecurity testing team. It's a user guide, technical design, including system design, software architecture, and data flow specification, cybersecurity risk assessment, if you have one, that will be super useful, and threat modeling, if you have one, that will be also super useful. Ensure that all the documents are updated with the latest features and functionality so the test team doesn't report discrepancies you're already aware of. Okay, so step number 8 is allocate the project representatives. And it's critical to allocate right people to support the cybersecurity testing projects. And as a bare minimum, I would recommend assign a test coordinator who will be responsible for resolution of all the blockers and resource allocation, and the technical engineer who can answer all the technical questions related to the device and software. Also organize support for the testing team and assist with the configuration. And final step is to organize a kick-off meeting. These and following meetings should be organized by your test coordinator. Ensure that the technical engineer is also available and present for all these calls with all the technical answers ready. And during the call, the testing team will explain their approach and methods. That's what we usually do, and will provide estimation for the testing timelines. All these details should be forwarded to you in a test plan document. Yeah, it's a separate document when we're preparing for the testing. And also they will provide the list of the requirements, expecting that it will take some time for you to address this list. But because you are already presenting on this webinar, you will surprise them because you already have everything and ready to start right now. Yeah. So a little bit about cybersecurity risk assessment and threat modeling. Let's start with the cybersecurity risk assessment. For cybersecurity risk assessment, our recommendation would be to go with the DREAD method, and DREAD stands for damage potential, reproducibility, exploitability, affected users, and discoverability. And why we recommend DREAD over the other methods? Because this is a comprehensive approach allowing you to run potential cybersecurity issues for the medical devices and provides clear instructions for addressing the most critical vulnerabilities. And more than that, by utilizing DREAD, you will see the possible vulnerabilities from different angles and will be able to propose better mitigation and control options. And for threat modeling, we usually go with STRIDE, and STRIDE stands for spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privileges. Each element of STRIDE represents a different category of security threats that could impact your medical device and associated systems. And it's our choice, the STRIDE is our choice because it's another comprehensive approach allowing you to categorize threats and identify potential vulnerabilities much easier. It's kind of a guideline, and for instance, we got spoofing and we start analyzing which vector can make the attack more successful. Same for DDoS, what measures and controls we have to prevent these threats, and etc. And as part of the STRIDE approach, we will also utilize the cybersecurity use case views to visually represent attack, which is another method to ensure everything is covered. Plus, mitigations options must be also provided, as well as the references to any open CWEs with their statuses, CVVs, and etc. To sum up, use DREAD for cybersecurity risk assessment, use STRIDE for threat modeling, and ensure that you start in advance, ideally at the design stage. You have a clear understanding of the testing scope, work on your test environment and credentials to validate a different level of access. Ensure that you log all the critical information, such as errors, exceptions, you set alerts, and utilize the log management to simplify this data analysis. Your functional testing and UAT is done, so no functional issues affect the cybersecurity testing. Pick all those low-hanging fruits with the automated tools for vulnerability scanning, so your testing team focus on more advanced scenarios, and ensure that your documentation is updated with the latest features and functionality. Put the right people on the project who will represent your team. You will need a test coordinator and a technical engineer, and surprise the testing team with your level of readiness during the kickoff meeting. Thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and it's question time. So how can I help?